The fluorescent lights of the 23rd floor buzzed overhead as Vanessa pushed her cleaning cart down the marble hallway. Her shift at Maxwell Financial Tower had started at 11 p.m., and now, at 2 in the morning, her back ached and her hands were raw from bleach. But she couldn't stop. Not when Tyler's school fees were due next week. Not when their tiny apartment in Brooklyn needed another month's rent. She hummed softly, an old gospel song her grandmother used to sing, as she emptied the trash bins outside the executive offices. The building was always empty at this hour, just her, the night security, and the ghosts of corporate ambition. Then she heard voices. Korean voices. Vanessa froze, her hand still gripping the edge of a wastebasket. She'd been taking online Korean lessons for 6 months now, a secret hobby she'd picked up after Tyler became obsessed with K-pop. The classes were cheap, the language beautiful, and learning something new made her feel like more than just a woman scrubbing other people's floors. The voices came from around the corner, near the private elevator that serviced the penthouse suite. She shouldn't have understood them, but she did. Has to look like an accident. The brakes, you understand. When he gets in the car, her blood turned to ice. Vanessa's heart hammered against her ribs as she pressed herself against the wall, the cleaning cart abandoned in the middle of the hallway. The voices continued, sharp and urgent in Korean. "Boss will never see it coming," another voice said, this one younger, eager. "Daehyun's plan is perfect. The mechanic has already been paid. As soon as Jung-hoon gets in that car tomorrow morning—" "Keep your voice down, you fool," the first voice hissed. "The building isn't completely empty." Vanessa's mind raced. Jung-hoon. She'd heard that name before. Kim Jung-hoon. The owner of the entire building, a Korean businessman whose company, Cheonsa Imports, occupied the top 3 floors. She'd seen his face on the covers of business magazines in the lobby. Sharp jawline, intense eyes, and an aura of power that radiated even through glossy paper. And someone was trying to kill him. She should walk away. This wasn't her business. She was a single mother with a son to raise and bills to pay. Getting involved with corporate espionage, or whatever this was, could cost her everything. But the memory of her own father's death flashed through her mind, a car accident that was ruled mechanical failure. But her mother had always suspected foul play, the way the investigators had dismissed their concerns, the way justice had never come. Her hands trembled as she pulled out her phone, finger hovering over the emergency call button. But what would she tell the police? That she'd overheard 2 men speaking Korean about sabotaging someone's car? They'd laugh at her. A black cleaning woman with broken Korean accusing wealthy businessmen of attempted murder. The elevator dinged. Vanessa's breath caught as she heard the men scrambling, their footsteps retreating down a service stairwell. She waited, counting to 30, before carefully peering around the corner. The hallway was empty, but the private elevator doors were opening, and a man stepped out. Kim Jung-hoon. Even at 2 in the morning, he looked immaculate. Black suit tailored perfectly to his frame, dark hair styled with precision, and those eyes, God, those eyes were even more intense in person. He carried a leather briefcase and moved with the confidence of someone who owned not just this building, but the very ground it stood on. He walked toward the executive suite, his footsteps echoing on the marble. He would pass right by her. Vanessa stepped into the hallway before she could stop herself. "Mr. Kim." He stopped, turning slowly. His expression shifted from surprise to cold assessment in an instant. His hand moved subtly toward his jacket, a defensive gesture that spoke of a man who lived with constant threats. "The building is closed," he said in perfect English, his accent slight but unmistakable. "Who are you?" I'm Vanessa. I work nights. Cleaning." She clutched her phone, trying to keep her voice steady. "I need to tell you something. It's important." His eyes narrowed. "You're working at 2 a.m.? "Yes, sir. I have to. But that's not—" She took a breath. "I heard men talking, just now, in Korean. They were talking about your car, about sabotaging it, about making it look like an accident." The temperature in the hallway seemed to drop 10 degrees. Jung-hoon's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his posture, a coiling tension like a predator preparing to strike. "What exactly did you hear?" His voice was dangerously soft. Vanessa's mouth went dry. She'd expected disbelief, maybe anger at being disturbed. Not this lethal focus directed entirely at her. "They said someone named Daehyun has a plan, that a mechanic was paid to sabotage your brakes, that when you get in your car tomorrow morning—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "You speak Korean?" It wasn't a question. "A little. I've been learning online. I know I probably didn't understand everything correctly, but What else did they say? The intensity of his gaze made her feel exposed, vulnerable, but she forced herself to meet his eyes. That you'd never see it coming, that the plan was perfect. Silence stretched between them. Jung-hoon studied her face as if memorizing every detail. The exhaustion in her dark eyes, the purple scrubs she wore for work, the way her natural hair was pulled back in a simple bun. She felt him cataloguing her, assessing whether she was a threat or an opportunity. Finally, he pulled out his phone and made a call, speaking rapid Korean that was far beyond her beginner's comprehension. When he finished, he turned back to her. "You will come with me." "What?" "No, I have to finish my shift." "Your shift is over." He gestured toward the elevator. "You've just saved my life, Miss Johnson. Vanessa Johnson. Miss Johnson." He moved closer, and she caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something darker. Danger, perhaps, or just the weight of a man who lived in shadows. "You understand that what you overheard makes you either very valuable or very dangerous. Until I determine which, you stay where I can see you." Fear spiked through her chest. "I'm not going anywhere with you. I have a son. He's only 8 and he's home with my neighbor." Something flickered in Jung-hoon's expression. "You have a child." "Yes, Tyler. And he needs me. So whatever you think you're going to do, I'm going to keep you alive," Jung-hoon interrupted, his voice cutting through her panic like a blade. "If Dae-hyun suspects you overheard his plans, you become a liability. Do you understand? You and your son." The elevator doors stood open, waiting. Jung-hoon extended his hand toward them, not touching her but making his expectation clear. Vanessa thought of Tyler sleeping peacefully in their apartment, of the picture he'd drawn that morning, showing the two of them holding hands under a rainbow, of every promise she'd made to keep him safe. She stepped into the elevator. Jung-hoon followed, pressing the button for the penthouse. As the doors closed, sealing them in together, Vanessa caught her reflection in the polished steel, a tired woman in purple scrubs, standing next to a man who looked like he could buy and sell her entire world without blinking. "What happens now?" she whispered. Jung-hoon's eyes met hers in the reflection, and for just a moment, she saw something beyond the cold mask, a flicker of respect, perhaps, or recognition. "Now," he said quietly, "everything changes." The elevator ascended, carrying them both toward an uncertain future, while 23 floors below, the abandoned cleaning cart sat in the middle of an empty hallway, a silent witness to the moment when Vanessa Johnson's carefully controlled life collided with a world she never knew existed. The penthouse was nothing like Vanessa expected. She'd imagined cold minimalism, all steel and glass and sterile perfection. Instead, she found herself in a space that somehow merged modern luxury with unexpected warmth. Dark wood furniture, subtle lighting, and traditional Korean artwork on the walls created an atmosphere of refined power. Jung-hoon moved through the space with practiced ease, shrugging off his jacket and draping it over a chair. Underneath, his white dress shirt had the top 4 buttons undone, revealing a muscled chest and, Vanessa's eyes widened slightly, a delicate tattoo of vertical Korean script running down the side of his neck. He caught her looking and raised an eyebrow. "Please sit." Vanessa perched on the edge of an expensive-looking sofa, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Mr. Kim, I really need to get home. Tyler will wake up in 4 hours, and if I'm not there, your neighbor." "Rachel, is it?" Jung-hoon said, scrolling through his phone. "I've already had my associate contact her. She's been compensated generously for extending her care of your son through tomorrow." "You what?" Vanessa shot to her feet. "You can't just... How do you even know Rachel's name?" "I know everything about this building and everyone in it." Jung-hoon's tone was matter-of-fact, not boastful. "Including the fact that you work 3 jobs. You're 6 months behind on your student loans, and you take the subway to a second cleaning job in Manhattan every morning after your shift here ends." The invasion of privacy should have made her angry. Instead, exhaustion washed over her. "So you know I'm nobody. I'm not a threat to you or your business or whatever this is. Please just let me go home." "I can't do that." He gestured for her to sit again, and reluctantly she did. "Dae-hyun is dangerous. If he suspects you heard anything..." "Who is he?" Jung-hoon was silent for a long moment, as if deciding how much to reveal. Finally, he sat across from her, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. The posture made him seem almost human. "Dae-hyun works for me. Or he did, until he decided he wanted what I have." Jung-hoon's jaw tightened. "He's been planning this coup for months. I knew there was a traitor in my organization, but I couldn't prove who. Now, thanks to you, I can. Your organization." Vanessa's voice was barely a whisper. "What kind of business are you really in, Mr. Kim?" His eyes locked with hers, and she saw the truth in them before he spoke. The kind that requires a different set of rules than what you're used to, Miss Johnson. Her stomach dropped. I'm a businessman, he said firmly. Everything I do is to protect my people and maintain order in a world that would descend into chaos without structure. But yes, some would use less diplomatic terms. Vanessa stood again, her heart racing. I need to leave right now. Tyler, sit down. The command in Jung-hoon's voice froze her in place, but then his tone softened. Please, I'm not going to hurt you, but you need to understand the situation. Dae-hyun won't hesitate to eliminate anyone who threatens his plans. If he even suspects you might have overheard, then what am I supposed to do? Hide here forever? For now, yes. Jung-hoon pulled out his phone again, speaking rapid Korean to someone on the other end. When he finished, he looked at her with something that might have been sympathy. Sang-hyun is bringing your son here, along with whatever he needs for school tomorrow. No. Vanessa crossed the distance between them in 2 strides, her fear transforming into protective fury. You leave my son out of this. I don't care what kind of danger I'm in. Tyler stays away from whatever this is. Jung-hoon stood to meet her, and suddenly they were inches apart. She could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow, the way his pupils dilated slightly as he looked down at her. He was taller, stronger, infinitely more powerful. But Vanessa didn't back down. Your son is already in this, Jung-hoon said quietly. The moment you warned me, you made a choice. A brave one. A stupid one, perhaps, but brave nonetheless. Now I'm making a choice, to protect you both until this is resolved. I didn't ask for your protection. No, but you have it anyway. They stared at each other, locked in a silent battle of wills. Vanessa saw something shift in Jung-hoon's expression, a flicker of respect, maybe even admiration. It disarmed her more than his authority had. How long? She finally asked. A few days, maybe a week. I need to draw Dae-hyun out, make him think his plan is proceeding. Then, Jung-hoon's hand moved in a swift cutting gesture. Then you'll kill him. I'll handle it. The euphemism was somehow worse than a direct admission. Vanessa sank back onto the sofa, her mind reeling. 24 hours ago, her biggest worry was whether she could pick up an extra shift to afford Tyler's new sneakers. Now she was trapped in a penthouse with a Korean Mafia boss, and her son was being brought into the heart of whatever dangerous world this man inhabited. I need to call Tyler, she said, before Sang-hyun picks him up. He'll be scared if a stranger comes for him. Jung-hoon handed her his phone. Make it brief. Don't mention where you are or why. Her hands shook as she dialed Rachel's number. It rang twice before her neighbor's warm voice answered. Hello? Rachel, it's Vanessa. I need you to wake Tyler for me. Vanessa? Honey, it's 2:30 in the morning. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. There's an emergency at work and I need to stay late. A friend is coming to pick up Tyler and bring him to me. His name is Sang-hyun. A friend? Vanessa, you never mentioned. Please, Rachel, I'll explain everything later. Just wake Tyler and tell him Mommy needs him to be brave, okay? He's going to ride in a fancy car and everything's fine. There was a pause. Then Rachel's voice dropped lower. Are you in trouble? No, I promise. I just need you to trust me. Another pause. Okay, I'll wake him. But Vanessa, you call me the second you can, you hear? I will, thank you. She ended the call and handed the phone back to Jung-hoon. He was watching her with that intense focus again, and she wondered what he saw. A scared woman? A nuisance? Or something else entirely? You love him very much, Jung-hoon observed. He's everything to me. What about his father? The question hit a nerve. His father decided being a dad was too much responsibility. He left when Tyler was 2. I haven't seen Kevin since. Jung-hoon's expression darkened. A man who abandons his child is no man at all. The unexpected vehemence in his voice surprised her. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He answered in Korean, his tone sharp and commanding. When he hung up, he looked at her again. Sang-hyun will be here with your son in 45 minutes. In the meantime, there's a guest room down that hallway. You should rest. I can't rest. Not until I see Tyler. Then at least clean up. There's a bathroom attached to the guest room. You'll find everything you need. Vanessa looked down at her purple scrubs, suddenly aware of how she must look. Exhausted, rumpled, smelling faintly of cleaning products. She wanted to refuse on principle, but the thought of washing her face and changing into something clean was too tempting. Fine, but I'm not staying in that room. I'll wait here for Tyler. Jung-hoon inclined his head slightly. As you wish. She made her way down the hallway, hyper-aware of him watching her go. The guest room was elegant but understated, with a king-sized bed and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Manhattan skyline. The bathroom was pure luxury, marble counters, a rain shower, and toiletries that probably cost more than her entire month's groceries. Vanessa caught sight of herself in the mirror and almost laughed. Here she was, a broke single mother from Brooklyn, standing in a bathroom that belonged in a magazine spread, while a dangerous man waited in the next room with plans to commit murder. How had her life become this? She splashed cold water on her face and found a set of expensive loungewear in her size folded on the bathroom counter. Of course, Jung-hoon had probably had someone prepare this room the moment he decided to keep her here. The clothes fit perfectly. Soft black joggers and a matching sweatshirt that felt like silk against her skin. She emerged from the guest room to find Jung-hoon standing by the windows, his silhouette dark against the glittering city below. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for the clothes." He turned, and something flickered in his eyes as he took in her appearance. "You look more comfortable. I feel like I'm playing dress-up in someone else's life." "Perhaps you are." He moved closer, and that dangerous energy surrounded him again. "But for now, this life is yours, and I intend to make sure you survive it." Before she could respond, the elevator chimed. Both of them turned toward it, and Vanessa's heart lurched as the doors opened to reveal a tall Korean man in a dark suit. Sang-hyun, she assumed, holding Tyler's hand. "Mommy!" Tyler broke free and ran to her, and Vanessa dropped to her knees, pulling him into her arms. He was wearing his favorite dinosaur pajamas and clutching his stuffed elephant, Boo. His dark eyes were wide with confusion and excitement. "Baby, are you okay?" "I'm so sorry." "The man said we're on an adventure," Tyler said, pulling back to look at her. "He said you need me to be brave. I'm being brave, Mommy, see?" Tears pricked Vanessa's eyes. "You're the bravest boy I know." Tyler's attention shifted past her to Jung-hoon, and his eyes went wide. "Whoa. Are you Mommy's boss?" Jung-hoon moved closer, and Vanessa tensed, instinctively pulling Tyler tighter. But the man who'd commanded her to stay, who'd ordered her son brought to his penthouse, did something unexpected. He knelt down, bringing himself to Tyler's eye level. "My name is Jung-hoon," he said, his voice gentler than Vanessa had heard it. "Your mother is helping me with something very important. I hope you don't mind staying here for a little while." Tyler studied him with the brutal honesty of 8-year-olds. "Do you have video games?" The corner of Jung-hoon's mouth twitched. "I believe I can arrange that." "Then it's okay." Tyler looked back at Vanessa. "Can I sleep in the big bed I saw?" "It's huge." "Of course, baby." She stood, keeping Tyler close to her side, and met Jung-hoon's eyes over her son's head. Something passed between them in that moment. An understanding, perhaps. She had trusted him with the most precious thing in her world, and he, whether he realized it or not, had just made a silent promise to protect it. "Sang-hyun will help you get settled," Jung-hoon said, his professional mask sliding back into place. "I have calls to make." He retreated to what looked like a home office, leaving Vanessa alone with Tyler and Sang-hyun. The tall man smiled at her, a surprisingly warm expression. "Your son is very brave," he said, in slightly accented English. "And you are very lucky to have caught Jung-hoon's attention. He is not a man who protects lightly." "I didn't ask for his protection." "No, but you earned it nonetheless." Sang-hyun gestured toward the guest room. "Come, I'll show you both where everything is. And don't worry, boss keeps his promises." As Vanessa followed him down the hallway with Tyler's hand in hers, she glanced back at the office where Jung-hoon had disappeared. Through the partially open door, she could see him standing at his desk, one hand pressed against the surface, head bowed. He looked, for just a moment, vulnerable. Then the moment passed, and he was making another call, his voice hard and commanding once again. Vanessa turned away, wondering what she had gotten them both into, and whether there would be any way out that didn't end in blood. Morning sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows when Vanessa woke, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar luxury surrounding her. Then she remembered. The penthouse, Jung-hoon, the assassination plot, everything. Tyler was still asleep beside her in the massive bed, his small body curled around Boo. She brushed a hand over his curls and carefully slipped out from under the covers, padding barefoot into the main living area. Jung-hoon was already awake, sitting at the dining table with a laptop and several phones spread before him. He'd changed into dark slacks and a crisp white dress shirt, top 4 buttons still undone, that tantalizing tattoo visible against his skin. His hair was slightly damp, as if he'd recently showered. He looked up as she approached, his eyes tracking her movement with that predatory focus. "Coffee, please," she said, surprised by the mundane domesticity of the offer. He stood and moved to the kitchen, an open concept space with top-of-the-line appliances that probably cost more than her annual salary. She watched as he prepared 2 cups with practiced efficiency, adding cream to hers without asking. "How did you know?" "I pay attention." He handed her the mug. "Your son is still sleeping." "Yes." He was exhausted. This whole thing. She trailed off, taking a sip of coffee that was, annoyingly, perfect. Jung-hoon leaned against the counter, studying her. In the morning light, she could see faint shadows under his eyes. He hadn't slept much, if at all. "I've made arrangements," he said. "Sang-hyun will take Tyler to school. One of my men will pose as a family friend. He'll stay close but invisible. No one will approach your son without going through him first." Vanessa's hands tightened around the mug. "For how long?" "Until this is over." He paused. "Dae-hyun made his move last night. He tried to access my private garage. Sang-hyun stopped him before he could reach my car, but we let him escape. Now he thinks he's still operating in shadows. You're using yourself as bait." "Yes." No hesitation. No false modesty. "That's insane." "That's survival." Jung-hoon moved closer, and she fought the urge to step back. "In my world, Miss Johnson, you don't wait for your enemies to strike. You control when and where the battle happens. Right now, Dae-hyun thinks he's winning. That overconfidence will be his downfall. And what happens when he realizes I warned you? He heard someone in that hallway. What if he figures out it was me?" Something dark flickered across Jung-hoon's face. "Then he'll have to go through me to reach you. And I assure you, that's not a journey he'll survive." The possessiveness in his voice sent an unexpected shiver down her spine. Not fear exactly, something more complicated. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. "I'm nobody to you. Just a cleaning woman who happened to overhear something she shouldn't have. You could have ignored my warning, dealt with Dae-hyun yourself, and sent me on my way." Jung-hoon was silent for a long moment, his jaw working as if wrestling with something. Finally, he set down his coffee and looked at her with an intensity that stole her breath. "When I was 12, he said, his voice low, "my father was betrayed by someone he trusted, a business partner. The man had my father's car sabotaged, brakes cut, just like Dae-hyun planned for me. My father survived, but barely. He was never the same after that. And the betrayer? He walked free for 2 years before my father could prove his involvement." Vanessa's throat tightened. "I'm sorry. Don't be. My father eventually got his justice. But I learned something that day. The value of a warning. Of someone brave enough to speak up when silence would be easier." His eyes held hers. "You reminded me that not everyone is corrupted by proximity to power. Some people still have the courage to do the right thing, even when it costs them. It hasn't cost me anything yet." Yet. The word hung between them, heavy with implication. Before Vanessa could respond, Tyler's voice called from the guest room. "Mommy, I'm here, baby." She set down her coffee and hurried toward him, grateful for the interruption. Tyler was sitting up in bed, his hair wild and his eyes bright with curiosity. "Is this real? I thought maybe I dreamed it." "It's real." She sat on the bed and pulled him close. "And you need to get ready for school. A nice man named Sang-hyun is going to take you and pick you up. Mommy has to stay here and help Mr. Jung-hoon with work." "The tall boss man?" Tyler's face lit up. "He's cool. He showed me his office last night and let me sit in his chair. It spins really fast." Vanessa blinked. "When did—" "You were in the bathroom. He said I was the man of the house now and had to protect you." Tyler puffed out his small chest with pride. Her heart clenched. She looked toward the open door where Jung-hoon was presumably still in the kitchen, and something inside her shifted. This dangerous man, this criminal who lived in a world of violence and betrayal, had taken the time to make her 8-year-old son feel brave and important. By the time Tyler was dressed and fed, Jung-hoon had apparently ordered enough breakfast to feed an army. Sang-hyun arrived. The tall man greeted Tyler with a high five and promised to tell him stories about Korea on the drive to school. Vanessa walked them to the elevator, crouching down to hug Tyler tight. "You listen to Sang-hyun, okay? And if anything feels wrong, if anyone makes you uncomfortable, you tell him immediately." "I will, Mommy. Stop worrying." "I'm brave, remember." Tyler kissed her cheek and stepped into the elevator with Sang-hyun. As the doors closed, Vanessa felt a hand settle gently on her shoulder. Jung-hoon had moved silently behind her. "He'll be safe," he said. "I give you my word." She turned to face him, and they were suddenly close, too close. She could see the individual eyelashes framing his dark eyes, the sharp line of his jaw, the pulse beating at the base of his throat just above that intriguing tattoo. "Your word," she repeated softly. In your world, what does that mean? Everything. His hand was still on her shoulder, his thumb unconsciously tracing a small circle against the fabric of her sweatshirt. I don't make promises I can't keep, Vanessa. It was the first time he'd used her first name, and the intimacy of it sent heat through her chest. She should step back, create distance, remember who he was and what he did. Instead, she heard herself ask, what do those words mean, the tattoo on your neck? Jung-hoon's expression shifted. Surprise, then something more guarded. His hand fell away from her shoulder as he stepped back. It's a reminder. Of what? That power without honor is just tyranny, and tyranny always ends in blood. Before she could process that, his phone buzzed. He answered in rapid Korean, his expression darkening with each word. When he hung up, his jaw was tight. What is it? Vanessa asked. Dae-hyun has made another move. He's called a meeting with the organization's lieutenants for tonight. He's going to make his play for control. Jung-hoon's eyes met hers. Which means, I need to be there. And you need to stay here, behind security, I trust. For how long? Just tonight. After this meeting, everything will be resolved one way or another. The implications hung unspoken between them. Violence, possibly death. The end of whatever strange interlude this had been. Will you be safe? The question escaped before she could stop it. Jung-hoon's expression softened slightly. Are you worried about me, Vanessa? She didn't know how to answer that. Tyler has gotten attached to you. If something happened, only Tyler. The air between them crackled with sudden tension. Vanessa's pulse quickened as Jung-hoon moved closer again, his eyes searching hers for something she wasn't sure she wanted him to find. I don't know you, she whispered. 2 days ago, I didn't even know men like you existed. And now? Now I'm terrified of how normal this is starting to feel, drinking coffee with you, watching you joke with my son, pretending this isn't completely insane. It is insane. Jung-hoon's hand came up, his fingers barely grazing her cheek. You should be running from me, not asking if I'll be safe. I know, but you're not running. No. She met his eyes steadily. I'm not. The moment stretched between them, laden with possibilities neither dared name. Then Jung-hoon's phone buzzed again, shattering the spell. He stepped back, his mask of control sliding firmly back into place. I need to prepare, he said. There are books in the library, streaming services on the TV. Help yourself to anything you need. Brandon will be stationed outside. If you want anything, ask him. Brandon, your friend, the security guard from the lobby, he's one of mine. Vanessa's eyes widened. Big Mike? He works for you? Everyone in that building works for me in one way or another. Brandon has been watching over you and Tyler for months. Jung-hoon moved toward his office, then paused. He's the one who told me you were worth protecting, long before you ever warned me about Dae-hyun. He disappeared into the office before she could respond, leaving her standing in the vast living room with 1,000 questions and the lingering warmth of his touch still ghosting across her cheek. Hours passed. Vanessa tried to distract herself with television but couldn't focus. She found the library Jung-hoon mentioned, an entire room lined with books in Korean, English, and other languages she couldn't identify. There was a whole section on Korean history and culture. She pulled one down, sinking into a leather chair. She was deep in a chapter about traditional Korean martial arts when Jung-hoon emerged from his office in the late afternoon. He'd changed into an all-black suit that made him look even more dangerous than usual. The tattoo on his neck seemed to stand out more against the dark fabric. I'm leaving soon, he said. Vanessa set down the book and stood. Be careful. Always. He moved toward the elevator, then stopped. Vanessa? Yes? He turned back and the expression on his face was unlike anything she'd seen from him before. Vulnerable, almost uncertain. If something goes wrong tonight, if Dae-hyun's reach is longer than I anticipated, Don't. She crossed to him quickly. Don't say goodbye like that. You're going to handle this, and you're going to come back. Tyler wants you to teach him how to make that desk chair spin. Jung-hoon's lips curved in a slight smile. He told you about that? He told me you made him feel brave. That means something. It means everything. Jung-hoon's hand came up again, and this time he didn't stop himself from cupping her face. His touch was gentle, despite the calluses she could feel on his palm. You've changed something in me, Vanessa Johnson. I'm not sure I like it. Why not? Because caring about people makes you vulnerable. And vulnerability, in my world, gets you killed. I know. She covered his hand with hers. But maybe some things are worth the risk. They stood like that for a long moment, the space between them charged with unspoken possibilities. Then Jung-hoon leaned in slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away. She didn't. His lips brushed hers, soft, questioning, achingly gentle for a man so dangerous. Vanessa's eyes fluttered closed as she kissed him back, her free hand fisting in his suit jacket. It was a first kiss and a promise, and a goodbye all wrapped into one heartbreaking moment. When they finally broke apart, Jung-hoon rested his forehead against hers. When this is over, we'll figure out what comes next. I'm not a good man, Vanessa. I know what you are. I'm choosing to see you anyway. Something raw and powerful flashed across his face. Then he stepped back, his armor sliding back into place. Sang-hyun will bring Tyler home by 6. Brandon stays outside until I return. Don't open the door for anyone else. I won't. Jung-hoon nodded once and entered the elevator. As the doors began to close, he caught her eyes one last time. When I come back, he said, we finish this conversation. Then he was gone, and Vanessa was alone in the penthouse, her lips still tingling and her heart racing with fear for a man she had no business caring about. She moved to the windows, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. Somewhere out there, Jung-hoon was walking into danger, and all she could do was wait and pray he kept his promise to come back, because somehow, in just 3 days, this dangerous stranger had become someone she couldn't imagine losing. Tyler came home full of stories about his day. Sang-hyun had apparently taught him how to count to 10 in Korean during the car ride. Vanessa tried to maintain normalcy, helping him with homework and making dinner from the fully stocked kitchen. But her attention kept drifting to her phone, to the clock, to the darkness gathering outside the windows. 7 p.m. came and went. Then 8. No word from Jung-hoon. At 9, Brandon knocked on the door. Vanessa checked the peephole before opening it, relaxing slightly when she saw her friend's familiar face. "Big Mike," she said, and heard the tremor in her voice. "Is there any news?" Brandon's expression was grim. "The meeting is still ongoing. Jung-hoon sent word that you and Tyler should sleep. He'll update us when he can. That's not reassuring. It's not meant to be. This is how it works in our world." He squeezed her shoulder. "But Boss is the smartest man I know. Trust him." After Brandon returned to his post, Vanessa put Tyler to bed. He was asleep almost instantly, exhausted from the excitement. She sat beside him for a long time, watching his peaceful face and wondering how she would explain if Jung-hoon didn't come back. She must have dozed off in the chair beside Tyler's bed, because she woke with a start to the sound of the elevator opening. Her phone showed 11:47 p.m. She stumbled into the living room, her heart in her throat. Jung-hoon stood in the entryway, and Vanessa's stomach dropped. Blood stained his white shirt. His knuckles were bruised and split, and his face was a mask of exhaustion and something darker. Grief, perhaps, or rage. "Oh, God!" She rushed to him. "Are you hurt? Do you need a doctor?" "It's not my blood." His voice was hollow. "Most of it, anyway." "Most of it?" She grabbed his arm, guiding him toward the couch. "Sit down. Let me see. Vanessa." He caught her hands, stopping her frantic movements. "I'm fine, just tired. You're bleeding. It's superficial, I've had worse." She wanted to scream at him, to shake him, to demand he let her help. Instead, she forced herself to take a breath. "At least let me clean your hands." Jung-hoon nodded slowly and let her pull him toward the kitchen. She wet a clean towel and gently cleaned the blood from his knuckles, wincing at the split skin and emerging bruises. He sat perfectly still, watching her work with an intensity that made her hands shake. "What happened?" she finally asked. "Dae-hyun is dead." No emotion in his voice. "So are 3 of his closest supporters. The rest of the organization has been reminded where loyalty belongs." Vanessa's hands stilled. "You killed him. I did what was necessary to protect my people, to protect you and Tyler. Don't." She pulled away, the reality of what he was crashing over her like a wave. "Don't pretend you did this for us. You did it because he betrayed you. Because that's what you do in your world. You kill people who get in your way." Jung-hoon's jaw tightened. "Yes, that's exactly what I do. I thought you understood that. Understanding it and seeing the evidence are different things." She gestured at his blood-stained clothes. "There's a dead man somewhere because of tonight. Multiple dead men. And you're standing here like it's just another Tuesday." "It is just another Tuesday in my life." He stood, towering over her. "This is who I am, Vanessa. I warned you I wasn't a good man. But you're not a monster either. I've seen you with Tyler. I've seen the way you protected me. The way you—" She stopped, unable to finish. "The way I what?" He moved closer, his eyes blazing. "The way I kissed you? Made you feel safe? That doesn't erase what I've done." what I'll continue to do. This is my world, and it's built on blood and violence and choices that would horrify you. Then why did you bring us into it? The words burst out of her. Why not just let us go after I warned you? Why drag my son into your penthouse and make him feel brave and make me— Her voice broke. Make you what? Jung-hoon was directly in front of her now, his hands gripping her shoulders. Say it. Make me care about you. The confession hung between them, raw and painful. I don't want to care about someone who kills people, who lives in shadows and violence, but I do. God help me, I do. Something cracked in Jung-hoon's expression. His hands slid from her shoulders to cup her face, and she saw the vulnerability she'd glimpsed before, only deeper now, more desperate. I brought you here because the thought of anything happening to you made me lose my mind, he said roughly, because in one moment, one warning, you became more important than my own life, and that terrifies me more than any enemy I've ever faced. Jung-hoon, when I walked into that meeting tonight, all I could think about was getting back to you, to Tyler, to this life I didn't know I wanted, until I had it for 3 days. His forehead pressed against hers. I'm not a good man, Vanessa, but with you I want to be. Tears streamed down her face. I don't know if that's possible. Neither do I, but I'm willing to try. If you are. Before she could answer, a sound from the hallway made them both freeze. Tyler stood in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. His gaze moved from Vanessa's tears to Jung-hoon's bloodied shirt, and his small face crumpled with concern. Mommy, why are you crying? Is Mr. Jung-hoon hurt? Vanessa quickly wiped her eyes and forced a smile. It's okay, baby. Mr. Jung-hoon just had a rough day at work. Everything's fine. Tyler padded closer, his attention focused on Jung-hoon. Did the bad guys hurt you? Jung-hoon's expression softened as he knelt to Tyler's level, ignoring his bruised knuckles. I'm okay. Just a few scratches. My mommy can fix scratches. She's really good at it. Tyler looked up at Vanessa with complete faith. Right, Mommy? Right. She smiled through her tears. Why don't we get Mr. Jung-hoon cleaned up properly? Can you help me? Tyler nodded seriously, taking this new responsibility with the gravity only an 8-year-old could muster. For the next 20 minutes, Vanessa carefully tended to Jung-hoon's injuries, while Tyler fetched band-aids and kept up a running commentary about his day at school. Jung-hoon bore it all with surprising patience, answering Tyler's questions and letting the boy put band-aids on cuts that didn't really need them. Vanessa watched the two of them, her son and this dangerous man, and felt something in her chest break and reform into a shape she didn't recognize. Finally, Tyler yawned widely. I'm sleepy again. Back to bed, Vanessa said gently. Come on, I'll tuck you in. Can Mr. Jung-hoon come too? Tyler asked. I want him to see how brave I was today. Jung-hoon looked at Vanessa, a question in his eyes. She nodded, and together they walked Tyler back to the guest room. The boy climbed into bed and immediately launched into a story about how he'd stood up to a bully at recess. I remembered what you said, Tyler told Jung-hoon, about being the man of the house, so I told him to leave my friend alone, and he did. You were very brave, Jung-hoon said, and Vanessa heard genuine pride in his voice. Your mother should be proud. She is. She's always proud of me. Tyler reached for Boo, then looked up at them both. Are you going to stay here now with us? The innocent question hung in the air. Vanessa's breath caught as she met Jung-hoon's eyes across the bed. I don't know, Jung-hoon said honestly. Would you want that? Tyler considered this seriously. Yeah, you make Mommy smile. She doesn't smile a lot usually. Vanessa's throat tightened. Tyler, it's true, her son said matter-of-factly. But she smiled when you made that spinning chair joke, and she smiled when you gave her coffee this morning. I like when you're happy, Mommy. Unable to speak, Vanessa leaned down and kissed Tyler's forehead. I love you so much, baby. Love you too. And I love Mr. Jung-hoon too, because he's nice to us. Jung-hoon went very still. Vanessa saw something flicker across his face. Surprise, tenderness, and a shadow of old pain. He reached out and gently ruffled Tyler's hair. Thank you, Tyler. That means more than you know. They stayed until Tyler's breathing evened out in sleep. Then they walked back to the living room in silence, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down on them both. He doesn't understand what he's saying, Vanessa finally whispered. He's 8. He thinks I'm someone worth loving. Jung-hoon's voice was rough. But we both know better. Do we? She turned to face him. Because I'm starting to wonder if maybe Tyler sees something we're too afraid to admit. Jung-hoon closed his eyes briefly. Vanessa, tonight I killed 4 men. I gave the order and they died. That's not someone a child should love. That's not someone you should— But you did it to protect your people, to protect us. Doesn't that count for something? In what world does murder count as protection? In yours. The words came out sharper than she intended. You live in a world where violence is currency and loyalty is everything. I hate that world. But I can't hate you for surviving in it, for doing what you had to do. You should hate me. He moved toward the windows, putting distance between them. You should take Tyler and run as far from me as possible. Is that what you want? What I want doesn't matter. Yes, it does. She crossed to him, refusing to let him retreat. What do you want, Young-hoon? He spun to face her, and the raw emotion in his eyes nearly broke her. I want to be the man Tyler thinks I am, the man who makes you smile. I want to wake up to coffee with you and teach your son bad jokes and pretend I'm not who I really am. His hand came up to cup her face. But I can't, because pretending doesn't change reality. Then change reality, she said fiercely. You're powerful enough to do anything. Why not choose something different? It's not that simple. Why not? Because... He stopped, his jaw working. Because men like me don't get happy endings, Vanessa. We get blood and betrayal and an early grave. And I won't drag you and Tyler into that with me. What if we're already in it? She covered his hand with hers. What if walking away now doesn't make us safer? What if the only way through is together? Young-hoon stared at her, and she saw the war raging behind his eyes, duty against desire, survival instincts against hope. Finally, he pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. I don't know how to do this, he whispered into her hair. I don't know how to be someone's anything. Then we'll figure it out together. She pulled back enough to meet his eyes. But you have to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll try. Really try to find a way out of this life. For Tyler. For me. She paused. For yourself. Young-hoon was silent for a long moment. Then he pressed his lips to her forehead in a gesture so tender it made her chest ache. I promise, he said. I'll try. It wasn't enough. It might never be enough. But in that moment, with his arms around her and his heart beating against hers, Vanessa chose to believe it was a start. 3 days later, Vanessa woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Tyler's laughter echoing through the penthouse. She found them in the kitchen, Young-hoon teaching her son how to make Korean-style scrambled eggs, while Brandon watched with an amused smile from the doorway. See, you have to keep it moving, Jung-hoon was saying, guiding Tyler's hand with the spatula. Not too fast, not too slow. Perfect technique is about patience. Like martial arts, Tyler said excitedly. Can you teach me that too? Maybe when you're older. Jung-hoon glanced up and saw Vanessa watching. Something warm and private passed between them. Good morning. Morning. She accepted the coffee he handed her, perfectly prepared as always. How long have you two been up? An hour, Brandon supplied. Boss didn't want to wake you. Said you needed the rest. Tyler bounded over to her. Look, Mommy, I'm making breakfast. Mr. Young-hoon says I'm a natural. You are, baby? She kissed the top of his head, breathing in the familiar scent of his shampoo mixed with the unfamiliar domesticity of this moment. It had been like this since the night of the meeting. Young-hoon had taken 3 days off from his business to stay at the penthouse. No meetings, no calls beyond what Sang-hyun handled. Just mornings with Tyler, evenings teaching him Korean phrases, and quiet nights when the boy was asleep and Vanessa and Young-hoon talked until dawn about everything and nothing. She was falling for him. She knew it was dangerous, probably stupid, definitely complicated. But she couldn't stop. After breakfast, Young-hoon retreated to his office for a call. Vanessa was helping Tyler with his reading homework when Brandon's phone buzzed. His expression went cold as he read the message. What is it? Vanessa asked, her stomach dropping. Stay with Tyler. Brandon moved toward Young-hoon's office. Don't leave this room. Fear spiked through her chest. Brandon, what's happening? Before he could answer, Young-hoon emerged, his face grim. His eyes found Vanessa's across the room. Detective Ji-hee is here. She wants to talk to you. The detective? Why, because someone told her you witnessed something 3 nights ago. Young-hoon's jaw tightened. Someone is trying to force you to testify against me. Vanessa's blood ran cold. I didn't see anything. I know what you heard. But Ji-hee doesn't know that. And if she gets you on record saying you were in that hallway, that you heard Korean voices planning violence, he didn't finish the sentence, then I become a witness and you become subject to investigation, at best. Young-hoon moved closer, his voice dropping. At worst, they use you to bring down my entire organization. And in the process, make you and Tyler targets for anyone with a grudge against me. So what do I do? You tell her the truth. That you heard voices but couldn't make out what they were saying. That you warned me out of an abundance of caution. That you know nothing about what happened at that meeting. His eyes held hers. Can you do that? Vanessa thought about Tyler, about the life they'd built, about the dangerous line she was walking between two worlds. Then she thought about the man standing before her, flawed, violent, but trying for her. Yes, she said, I can do that. Jung-hoon nodded once, then turned to Tyler. Hey, brave man, how about you hang out with Sang-hyun for a bit? He's got some Korean candy he wanted to show you. Tyler's eyes lit up. Really? As Sang-hyun arrived to collect her son, Vanessa pulled Tyler aside. Remember what we talked about, okay? If anyone asks you questions about where we've been staying, what do you say? That we're helping Mr. Jung-hoon with work stuff, and it's private. Tyler recited the line perfectly, then hugged her. Don't worry, Mommy, I won't tell any secrets. When Tyler was gone, Jung-hoon turned to Brandon. Send Ji-hai up. The detective who emerged from the elevator 5 minutes later was a petite Korean-American woman in her mid-30s with sharp eyes and an expression that said she'd seen too much. She sized up Vanessa immediately. Miss Johnson, I'm Detective Ji-hai. I'd like to ask you a few questions about the night of December 6th. Of course, Vanessa said, proud that her voice remained steady. They sat in the living room, Vanessa on one couch, Ji-hai across from her, and Jung-hoon standing by the windows like a sentinel. The detective pulled out a notebook. You were working your shift as a cleaning woman at Maxwell Financial Tower that night, correct? Yes. And you were on the 23rd floor around 2 a.m.? Yes. That's part of my regular route. Did you see or hear anything unusual? Vanessa took a breath. I heard voices. Men speaking in what sounded like Korean. I couldn't make out what they were saying. My Korean is very basic, just what I've learned from an online course, but they sounded, intense. Angry, maybe. Ji-hai's pen stilled. You couldn't understand what they were saying? No, just random words here and there. Nothing that made sense. She met the detective's eyes steadily. I got concerned because they didn't sound like they should be there at that hour. So I mentioned it to Mr. Kim when I saw him. I thought maybe there were intruders. And Mr. Kim's response. He thanked me for the information and said he'd look into it. Vanessa kept her expression neutral. That's all I know. Ji-hai studied her for a long moment. Miss Johnson, if you know anything about what happened to Dae-hyun and his associates, I'm sorry, who? Vanessa let confusion color her voice. I don't know anyone by that name. He worked for Mr. Kim, along with 3 others. All 4 were found dead 3 nights ago. Vanessa's hand flew to her mouth in genuine shock. She'd known they were dead, but hearing it stated so boldly still hit hard. That's terrible. But I don't understand what that has to do with me. Someone suggested you might have witnessed something that night, something that could help our investigation. Who suggested that? Jung-hoon's voice cut through the room like a blade. Ji-hye turned to him. That's confidential. Let me guess. Someone from my organization who thinks they can use Miss Johnson to take my place. Jung-hoon moved away from the window, his presence suddenly dominating the space. Someone ambitious, someone who sees opportunity in chaos. Mr. Kim, Detective, I appreciate your dedication to your job, but Miss Johnson is exactly what she appears to be, a hard-working single mother who heard some voices and did the responsible thing by reporting them to building security. She's not involved in my business. She doesn't know anything about what happened to Dae-hyun, and dragging her into this investigation puts her and her son at risk from people far more dangerous than me. Ji-hee's eyes narrowed. Is that a threat? It's a fact. You know how this world works, Detective. Witnesses disappear. Families get caught in crossfire. Do you really want that on your conscience? The 2 of them stared at each other, locked in a silent battle of wills. Finally, Ji-hai stood and handed Vanessa a card. If you remember anything else, Miss Johnson, please call me, day or night. I will, Vanessa promised, knowing she never would. After Ji-hai left, Vanessa sagged against the couch. Is it over? For now. Jung-hoon sat beside her, taking her hand. But there will be others. People looking for leverage against me, looking for weakness they can exploit. And I'm a weakness. You're everything. He turned her hand over, tracing the lines of her palm, which is why I need to make a choice. One I've been avoiding. Vanessa's heart stuttered. What choice? I told you I'd try to find a way out of this life. I've spent the last 3 days planning exactly that. He looked up, and she saw determination in his eyes alongside fear. I'm stepping down. Sang-hyun will take over the organization. I'll remain as an advisor, but the day-to-day operations, the violence, the constant danger, That's done. Jung-hoon, you can't just... I can. And I am. Because you were right. Tyler deserves better than a man who kills people. You deserve better. And maybe, just maybe, I deserve the chance to be who you and Tyler think I am. Tears blurred Vanessa's vision. What if someone challenges this? What if they come after you for walking away? Then I'll handle it. But this time I'll have something worth fighting for. He cupped her face with both hands. I'll have you. If you still want me. Are you kidding? Of course I... The words died as he kissed her, and this time there was no hesitation, no uncertainty, just raw emotion and desperate hope, and the promise of something neither had dared imagine. They broke apart only when Tyler's voice echoed from the elevator. Mommy, Sang-hyun taught me how to say I love you in Korean. Jung-hoon laughed, actually laughed, and the sound transformed his entire face. Come here, brave man. Show us what you learned. Tyler ran to them, climbing onto the couch between them without hesitation. It's sarange. Sang-hyun said it means your heart is full for someone. That's exactly what it means, Jung-hoon confirmed, then looked at Vanessa. Sarange. Her breath caught. I don't know how to say it back yet. Then just say yes. Yes to what? To us. To trying this. To letting me be part of your life. Really part of it. Not just these 3 days in a bubble. His hand found hers across Tyler's small body. To building something real. Tyler looked between them with the intuition of children everywhere. Are you gonna be my dad now? Jung-hoon went very still. Vanessa held her breath, waiting. If your mother says yes, Jung-hoon finally answered, and if you'd be okay with that, then I'd be honored to try. Yes! Tyler threw his arms around Jung-hoon's neck. You can teach me martial arts and Korean and how to make the chair spin really fast. Over Tyler's head, Vanessa met Jung-hoon's eyes and saw her own hope reflected back at her, terrifying, exhilarating, and absolutely worth the risk. Sarange, she said softly, testing the word on her tongue. Is that right? Jung-hoon's smile was brilliant. Perfect. 6 months later, Vanessa unlocked the door to their new apartment, a spacious 3-bedroom in a safe neighborhood with good schools and a park nearby. Not the penthouse, but theirs. Bought with money from her new job as a translator and cultural consultant for Jung-hoon's legitimate business ventures. We're home, Tyler called, racing inside to drop his backpack in the hallway before heading to his room. Jung-hoon followed more slowly, carrying groceries from their shopping trip. He'd traded his designer suits for casual clothes most days now, though he still wore the white shirt with the top 4 buttons undone that Vanessa loved. The tattoo on his neck was still there. Power without honor is tyranny, but these days it felt like a reminder of where he'd been, not where he was going. How was the dojo? Vanessa asked, taking bags from him and starting to unpack groceries. Good. Tyler's getting better every week. His instructor says he has real talent. Pride colored Jung-hoon's voice. He wants to test for his next belt in 2 months. He wants to make you proud. He already does. Jung-hoon moved behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and pressing a kiss to her neck. How was your day? Busy. Mi-jung wants me to translate some medical documents for her clinic, and Rachel called. She wants to have dinner this weekend with her new boyfriend. The accountant? That's the one. Vanessa turned in his arms, looping her hands around his neck. She's so happy, almost as happy as I am. Almost? Jung-hoon raised an eyebrow. I'll have to work harder then. She laughed and kissed him, savoring the easy intimacy they'd built. It hadn't been simple. There were still nights when Jung-hoon woke from nightmares about his old life, still moments when Vanessa worried about threats she couldn't see, but they were making it work. Sang-hyun had taken over the organization smoothly, implementing changes that Jung-hoon had planned, but never had the courage to execute. Less violence, more legitimate business, and a strict code about protecting families. Brandon still checked in weekly, always with stories about the building and updates about the old crew. The transition hadn't been perfect. There had been one challenge to Jung-hoon's departure, a rival who thought him weak for walking away. Jung-hoon had handled it with brutal efficiency, proving that stepping down didn't mean he was defenseless. After that, the message was clear. Leave him alone, and he'll leave you alone. Mommy! Mr. Jung-hoon! Come see! Tyler's voice called from his room. They found him surrounded by papers, each one covered in carefully written Korean characters. I'm practicing. I want to be fluent by my birthday. Jung-hoon knelt beside him, checking his work with the patience of a teacher. This is excellent, Tyler. But this character here, see how the stroke should go. Vanessa leaned against the doorframe, watching them work together. Her son and the man who'd become his father in every way that mattered. a dangerous former Mafia boss, teaching her 8-year-old proper calligraphy techniques. Her life had become something she never could have imagined. Messy and complicated and occasionally scary, but also full of love and laughter and morning coffee and the kind of belonging she'd spent years searching for. "Hey," Jung-hoon said later that night, after Tyler was asleep. They were curled together on the couch, Vanessa's head resting on his chest. "I have something for you." He handed her a small box. Inside was a key, polished silver with Korean characters engraved on one side. "What is this?" "The key to my heart," Jung-hoon said, then smiled at her expression. "Also the key to a house I bought for us if you want it." "A house, Jung-hoon?" "Wait. Before you say it's too much, just listen. It has a big backyard for Tyler, a real kitchen for you, an office for me, and it's in your name, yours and Tyler's, because you saved my life that night in the hallway, and I want to spend the rest of mine making sure you never regret it." Vanessa's throat tightened with emotion. "You really bought us a house?" "I really bought us a house." He brushed a tear from her cheek. "We can move in next month, or we can stay here, whatever you want. I just needed you to know that I'm all in, Vanessa. For you, for Tyler, for this life we're building." She kissed him then, pouring 6 months of love and gratitude and hope into it. When they finally broke apart, she pressed the key into his palm. "We all move together," she said. "All 3 of us. Because that's what family does." Jung-hoon's eyes shone with emotion he no longer tried to hide. "Family. I like the sound of that." "Me too." She settled back against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady and strong and alive. "Sarange, Jung-hoon. Sarange, Vanessa. Always." Outside, the city lights glittered like promises. Inside, a former Mafia boss, a single mother, and her brave son dreamed of a future that had seemed impossible just 6 months ago. Not perfect, not without complications, but theirs. And that was more than enough.